So for me, few red flags would be meaning that like good luck with ordering wine. It's there's no vintages. And I
Oh
see it
yeah.
sadly quite often because people just don't want to, even if it's one pager, they don't want to reprint it or they don't know if they, what vintage they're gonna. Anyways, that's like at that point I'll be maybe order a cocktail or a beer.
Thank you for listening to Serves You Right. My name is Andrew, and if this is your first time tuning in, this show is for servers and bartenders, those in the restaurant industry. I've been in that world for the last 20 years, and I've done everything from barback, bartend, all the way up to general manager. Made pretty much every mistake in the book, tried a couple things, and now I'm looking for people who have existed in that world, done it well, and have stories, tips, and tricks to share with us. On that note, today I have a fun one. Anya. Anya of Wine with Anya on Instagram. She has an interesting story. She came over here from Russia. She got a job eventually in distribution. So she's seen both front of house and that side of things. We get to talk about wine, what to know about wine, how to sell wine, and so much more. So if you have any interest in wine, if you've ever thought, maybe I could stop doing the whole service thing and switch over to the distribution side, this would be an episode to listen to. And without any further ado, here is Anya. Well, Anya, thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so I was going to ask, Wine with Anya, why did you start that? What are you doing with wine on the internet?
So it's actually been an interesting project for me to approach social media and in particular wine industry on social media because I'm coming from background working at the restaurant, then getting my certification from the Court of MS and then working in corporate world, working both with restaurants and retail in New York, in the city. And then I quit. I kind of got burned out from the industry. Just like one day I decided I don't want to talk about wine. I mean, I still kept drinking it, but
Just didn't want
without
to sell
kind of
it. Yeah.
yeah, I just don't want to because it actually takes the whole like you think you work in a wine industry, but you really in sales. So you don't. I make sure you still like educate yourself with the new wine trends, but you're in a very sales job, so like your numbers is always the priority and it's kind of like it doesn't matter what you're selling. So I think that was the major part for me to sort of say, okay, I'm done with this. And then I actually went completely 180. I started my own company in wellness. So it was a subscription box with all of this like a yogi goods because I do exercise and I do yoga. And so that didn't work out quite as well as I hoped it will. And social media was kind of always present in my life. I tried to be a like lifestyle influencer. I took plenty of courses that will teach you how to start your account. And then I did finally found a social media manager lady who just basically told me, listen, like you have to niche down and you have a perfect subject that you're expert in and you worked and you know different sides of it. So why don't you just do a wine account and maybe then later on you can add some things to it. And so that's how, and I was like, okay, what, why not? Like I can try that. And at that time, I already kind of rested from that burned out situation from my corporate job. And it was just kind of like a natural solution for me. So that's how Wine with Anya started. And at first, I wasn't really, I just posted some of the old content that I already made for my other like, lifestyle account. And little by little, I start noticing it start growing naturally without me like overthinking it. And then I start investing more time in it. And now I'm at 17K at the moment. So, and it's been also very interesting journey because again, it's like it's still wine is a core of it, but there is now a social media part, right? Where people with no pictures or no real names can attack you. And
Oh, yeah.
you know, kind of like a joke is like it's just a wine account. It's not even a political thing or like with very serious, and people still find like offensive, like I'm talking bad stuff about their family or something.
Yeah, it takes only a feather's drop to offend some corners of the internet. I have a strong rule that I abide by in every channel. If you are uncivil, I block you. No question.
I'm getting to that point. I constantly thinking about it. I do know that people react in either good or bad way is still good for algorithm. I'm still confident that on a fence, like whether I use that as the trigger for my post, for algorithm to push my post, or just for my mental health, just block them. So I will get to the point I'm going to be blocking them because it's actually same people. It's funny. They're not even my followers.
I just to be clear too, I'm not saying that anyone who disagrees with me or says something negative I block.
Oh yeah,
it's the needlessly hateful people that come out of nowhere. It's like if I'm talking about something and someone disagrees, cool. Even if it's a little bit intense, but if I'm talking about something and someone comments like you're ugly and stupid, I'm like, okay. There's no why feed the trolls? It doesn't make any sense. But
and there is things that you can learn from somebody's criticism. The other day I posted a video of a person opening the wine, and he put the wine on a table and cuts the foil incorrectly, and that triggers a lot of emotions because it was triggering video. I can see that, but. There's actually two people who told me, and one of my critique was major was the foil was cut incorrectly, and then the other one was that he put the wine on a table. When I was passing my exam, we hold the bottle. I never put it on the table. You can put it on a stationary table that you attach, not the table that people served at. So, and then actually one girl wrote me that there is some Italian association, it's required to open on the table, on the dining table of their people. And I was like, oh, that's interesting, it's a safety thing. So I never heard that. And then I actually looked up at the Court of Master instructions. There are like 4 ways of opening white wine bottle. One is in a bucket, and actually the last one was you are allowed to put it on a table if there is enough space. So I was somewhat wrong. So and I have no problem, saying that. Or you learn that they added an 8th grape in champagne in pink Chardonnay, or whatever the name of it. I had no idea. Things evolving and changing, but I hate when people just using it like, oh, you didn't know that? Well, you certified sommelier. I was like, there is many things I don't know. I never claim I know it all. So.
Yeah, the holier than thou aspect bugs me. I think that is a good segue into kind of where I wanted to go from wine with Anya. Not everyone who is in hospitality or serves wine or works around wine goes for certification. So I was wondering, how did you decide to do that and why?
Well, so when I moved to United States, as very common path, I end up working at the restaurant, but I was raised that with the value of education, and while I didn't really want to grow my career in a restaurant business, I always was interested in wine, and even without any really knowledge of what I'm gonna do with this, where I'm gonna take that certification. And plus to that, I watched the movie The Somm. So really made such a big influence on me. And I was obsessed. After that, I was, oh my God, those people, they know so much. It's so fascinating. So I looked up that there was a course. It's a 10-week course. I forget, actually, they changed the name a few times. It used to be French Culinary Center. Now they switched it to International Culinary Center. But it's a pretty well-known establishment in New York City. It's located in Soho. And they had, it's mostly culinary school, but they had a program where their passing rate was close to 100% for a certified examination, but you take in 10-week course. Yeah, that's what I looked it up. I found it was very expensive for me at the time, so it took me a few years to actually save money to do that. and that's how I got my certification, because I knew something about wine. I didn't know that much, but I figured that will be such a great way to expedite their learning process and to have that certificate. So at least it's something, because I had education in Russia. I have a master's in marketing, if you translate it to English, but who cares? The University of Siberia. So yeah, so
Is
I
it
figured.
actually the University of Siberia?
Yeah, it's they also changed. Yeah, it's something like that. They changed the name also recently. So yeah,
Okay. Yeah.
but yeah, I'm from Siberia.
No, cool. That's awesome.
And yeah, so that's how I kind of came up with that idea, and I, obviously don't regret it. But I didn't realize I actually got so much hate, even by talking to people. When I applied for my corporate job, I worked for Southern Wines and Spirits. And when I applied, I just was meeting the team, and I didn't know that it's even going to be a point that they will be like, oh, another one with certification. And I was just, what do you mean? And it's coming from people with 20 years experience, and I feel like I was 26 or 27 at that time, and they looking down at you sort of as you are a newbie, and yet you have this certification. So that was a weird part for me. I didn't know that you can hate somebody for actually wanting to learn something and get certification and passing a difficult exam. So
Yeah, so I understand it in one sense. I've heard this term in reference to job applications, where it's like certification arms race, where everyone is now trying to add certifications on certifications, coming from good schools, getting all it, and you have these kids that are coming out of college at 22 with all these certifications and no experience, and they think they know how to do everything from the get-go.
yeah,
I'm not saying that's you, but you see some people.
Yeah. I see where the sentiment is coming from.
Mm-hmm. But I mean,
But that's
oh, okay. So I just gotta say, for level 1, I would understand that, because I see a lot of people in Southern Wine, like Southern Glaciers and R&DC, who have level 1 and a lot of different things, but certified isn't level. That's a more intense certification.
But for them, it was just I don't know if they know the difference, to be honest with you. They just a lot of hardcore sales. I mean, might do maybe underestimate them, but I think it just was looked down at as another one knows nothing from real. But it's true actually. When I had no idea about those Kendall Jacksons of the world, even though actually my portfolio was heavily Jackson family, and I have nothing against them, but it's just they're not gonna teach you at the SAM school about Kendall Jackson. So it's we are learning about really esoteric wines and true to region expressions and stuff. And yeah, Kendall Jackson still falls into the typical Californian chard. But yeah, so I had to learn the retail part, because I'm just not exposed to Lamarckers of the world too. So yeah.
What is it like? Oh, sorry. You go.
Yeah, go ahead.
What is it like being a wine lover working for Southern Wine? I keep wanting to say Southern Wine and Spirits, but Southern Glaciers.
Yeah, well, people understand who we're talking about. Or should we explain?
Maybe.
Yeah, but it's one of their. I think I'm pretty sure in New York they're the largest. I don't know about the country, but they're up there. So they definitely one of the largest distributor in the country. They still family owned, I believe, and depends on where you at. They either love you or hate you, because you are I heard that in Florida, Southern opens the doors. You loved by everybody. In New York was very different. Because the reason why there's some kind of not that pleasant feeling from people, because they just don't give business to a smaller distributors. They dominate the market, and sometimes they do it in a interesting ways. I'm just gonna leave it at that.
Well, the thing about being big is the pros of it are you're big, so you have supply chains, you have money to support things if it's legal. The downside of being big is that you're big, and so you could be Goliath in the room stomping on David.
Yeah.
And yeah, we're talking, it's only been about a couple weeks. Isn't it Southern that recently got implicated in like a bribery scheme with grocery stores in California?
I don't know, but I would
Yeah.
not be surprised. Absolutely. They've been in so many stuff. Yeah, so many lawsuits and all of that. So
The only
Yeah.
thing Prohibition did was make it illegal and then legal again. But the whole gangland, all the back house doors, all that stuff stayed around.
yeah,
But we got 3 tiers, so yeah.
exactly. Yeah. I don't know for better or worse.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was kind of tangential. Yeah. What was that like?
Yeah, so it was, it was for me, I absolutely, when I got the job, I was so excited. I got my expense account, I got a normal, like, you still work a little bit of an odd hours, but not anything compared to a restaurant job. So you still have, your weekends off and like pretty normal schedule. Yeah, you do have sometimes like late nights because you're entertaining somebody and taking them out. But otherwise, it was pretty normal schedule. You have a good base salary plus the commission. So I was absolutely excited to do this job. So at first, for me, it was an upgrade. But then you learn quickly that it's so many doors gonna be closed for you, not personally for you, but because you're part of such a big corporate company that some people have a very strong negative feelings about. But honestly, I can't really say anything bad. It was fun. It was hard. Like, my first year was absolutely difficult. And being this kind of young girl that doesn't take no for an answer was an advantage for me, because I would just kind of whatever, to the next one, And then I did really well for myself. So I actually still have my former colleagues calling me and telling me that they miss me, and even my older customers and stuff. And I had a couple of success stories that was probably still mentioned in some corporate meetings. So yeah.
In hushed tones, the cases that you moved. Yeah.
Yes. So
No.
it was a great experience, and I met a lot of really awesome people. That was another really good part about it. That's again became my friends, and we still keep in touch. And I really, yes, there's some part that you walk in, you feel bad that you work for Southern when you walk into an account. But then some people, where they were, no, it's fine. Still, we cannot order from you. Like, we still order in all the liquor. Like, there is no way around it. But there, of course, there's some accounts that you just don't walk in there because they don't deal with Southern at all. Kudos to them. I don't know how you do that, but yeah.
Yeah. No, you could cobble together an account. I'm in Omaha, Nebraska. But yeah, I'm just thinking off the top of my head, it's like Tito's, like Tito's is such a big mover. Yeah, just like all the different wines, they are hands down my biggest order every week. They just are. But
yeah,
I mean, if you look in their portfolio too, it's so big. Like, there are some real gems, and there's also mass market and everything in between.
No, and we had a pretty good portfolio. It was Jackson family based, but not KJ. So we were out. It was a Liberty Wine Selections. That's they call our division.
Is that the Spire Collection thing?
No, we actually didn't have Spire Collection.
Oh,
Spire
okay,
Collection was actually with another distributor, not with Southern at all. So you can why they would do that.
Yes, they bought Prohibition. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then we had some cool stuff, some door openers too. So that was a good leverage for me to have. So, for example, we have the main Pigao, which is like a really well-known Chateauneuf de Pub that some would happily put on their list. Then we eventually got I forgot, there was some Northern Rhone property there, was pretty cool. So there was a couple things in the portfolio that would be in interest for some geeky wine drinkers. And then I think everything it doesn't matter who you work for, the relationship is much more important. It does take an extra step to build those relationships because kind of Southern takes you back. But then as soon as you establish it, most people are like, okay, yeah, as I said, we're still buying stuff from Southern. It's not like we, can't do anything about it, so why not we just buy from you? So
Yeah. And I mean, I will say before because I don't want us to only talk about Southern.
Yeah.
But
Too much advertisement for them.
I won't say when in my history, so that way I won't call them out. But one of my favorite reps of all time, and one of my least favorite reps was Southern. Because Southern is large enough that I would have multiple reps from multiple departments,
Yeah.
and the difference between someone who did a really good job and someone who didn't. The really good one, he was very upfront, communicative, would text. If I was busy, they'd understand, just follow up later. On the opposite side, it was like drop in unannounced, didn't read the room, would bring product that didn't really fit the idea of the place. And I mean, I know you kind of have to do some of that because you got things that you have quotas on, but I don't know, just it's hard to figure out what exactly that difference is, but it's just like you nailed it with the relationship thing. It's kind of, you're building a relationship, and are you showing that you respect the time of the other person, then that person will respect your time too.
Read the room is the best description, because if person is just not getting that somebody's busy and they have other priorities and still working and trying to push the agenda, and I worked with some people like that, that's like no. Any industry, really, it doesn't matter. Yeah, you have to and you can forgive all other things to a person who kind of know where's the right time and when is not.
Mm-hmm. For sure. I think we should talk a little bit about wine, if you're cool with it.
Sure. Yes.
What are some trends that you're excited about? Things you're seeing coming down the line, different developments?
Well, now that with the industry going, declining in sales, I'm actually excited that a lot of the wine's gonna become more approachable for people, and hopefully that will drive some interest into some of the wines that weren't available prior. So that one of the trends. That's the other side of it, of this trend, that I get blamed all the time that I'm a reason why the industry in decline. So as basically when I educate people about certain rituals around the wine, or certain things that we should do, that's immediately taken as a snob, and therefore we are all responsible for that. So it's interesting to see how it's two sides of a coin, I guess. That's the approach. But yeah, my most excited, the trend that I see is we're going to see much more affordable wines, and hopefully that will drive people to step out of their, regular pattern of buying same bottle over and over. So, yeah.
Now, that is an interesting twist. I want to chew on that one for a little while, because a part of me, one, thinks that it's too good to be true. I kind of feel like the ultra high end, like DRCs, the Colt, Northern Rhone stuff. Yeah. I don't think any of those will ever truly come down in price. There's still enough rich people that'll suck them.
And it's not enough quantity. It never will be enough DRC for people to try. So it's just such a small production.
I once told someone over $300 a bottle, you're pretty much paying so that other people don't try it.
Yeah.
But I do that idea. I haven't considered that. Mid price point, probably the $40, $50 to $150.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're spot on. I could see those kind of contracting in price a little bit. And that's going to open up a lot of doors for people who wouldn't have tried those. Yeah,
and that's what I see now. Even if you look at all of their the stuff, even let's just take Costco and their Kirkland line. They're putting a much better juice, and I was very skeptical for that movement for a long time, that recommending the brands like that. But no, it's actually, I feel like you're getting a really good juice for the price. Also, I'm not many people probably familiar, but it's a pretty big. It's not Costco. It's kind of more like your esoteric wine shop, but they are pretty big for just small moms and pops group. So K&L here in California, and they call it untitled or something like kind of something with no name, but you can kind of tell it's Santa Cruz Mountain Pinot Noir, and they will give you a little bit more hint on a back label. And I'm like, I think it's actually Reese Juice, which is pretty expensive winery and one of my favorite in Santa Cruz Mountains. So by doing this, maybe the brands are not gonna decrease the price very quickly, that well-established brands, but you will see staff stores doing these collaborations, or big retailer Costco or Trader Joe's doing stuff like that, and it's good. So I think it's just we need to elevate American palate.
Yeah. And well, one of the things that I have heard with kind of the trend of drinking is down is that there aren't as many people going full sober, but it seems it's a trend of less but better. So that might actually play into
I've heard that too. Yeah. But that's
Yeah.
I think that's it. It's not that bad of a trend. And also it's funny because drinking it's not only wine decreased. It's when people attack me from like being a snob, I'm like, oh, it's not. It's actually across the board, just Gen Z drinking less, which is it's it's gonna change, and it's like everything else is changing, or they're gonna start doing something else. They will, I don't know, like people think of it as, oh my god, something that bad happening, it's apocalypse. It's fine, we're gonna, like, something's gonna happen, something's gonna evolve, and it's just fun for me. It's fun to watch. Like, I'm excited for what's coming next, what's gonna happen, how this trend gonna evolve. So
Yeah, and I think it was Morgan Housel in his Same as Ever book. But he said essentially, like, people love predicting in straight lines, and that's why you look back through the newspaper, there are all these crises always, like, oh, price of oil is going up and this is going down and we're all going to die. But threats to the status quo, threats to economic systems, as things progress, the solution is also incentivized. The worse the problem gets, the more valuable the solution to the problem is. And like that is the progression. If you say, okay, drinking is declining, and you ran it out on a long enough time scale, you'd say there's no more drinking in 40 years. It's probably not going to happen.
Yeah.
It's probably going to reach a point. There are people who are still enjoying drinking are going to drink, and then the next generation will see their parents not drinking and say, these lame people don't drink, we're going to drink. And it'll go up and then down, and it just, it's the progression as old as time.
yeah, and I also think it's good for people on an industry side, right? So now you can't, like, how so many times you would ask for some recommendation, and waiter would server would come and tell you, oh, it's good. Well, thank you so much. Show me what's bad, so I know. And like maybe that will incentivize them to learn a little bit more, to get more knowledge about the wine, because it's also very common for you to come to a fine dining restaurant where people, unless they have a som who really build their wine list, but you're not going to get any help from a server. So I think it could be a positive thing. Yeah.
No, that's a cool point. And I think let's dig into that. If you had to go back and let's say you couldn't have done the course because a lot of people who are listening may not financially have that money to be able to go through that, how would you learn about wine?
So I've always been learning even before the course. So, and I definitely went through that. They call it when you very little but you think everything. Dunning-Kruger. Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I was the perfect example. I remember. I basically knew, like, that Malbec is red and Sauvignon Blanc is white, or a couple other varieties that were just different.
More than some of the applicants to my restaurant know, so kudos on
Okay.
that. Yeah.
So I went to an interview to apply for a server job to another restaurant, and the owner was interviewing me, and he was like, well, you wrote that you have a strong wine knowledge. So from 1 to 10, what's your wine knowledge? And I was like, well, probably 8. And he asked me, what are the grapes of Bordeaux? And I was like, what are the grapes of Bordeaux? Like, what are you talking about? And only red. Like, what are the red grapes of Bordeaux? I was like, oh, okay, no idea. So I had no clue.
I have to jump in there just real fast. I have a good story with that too. It was after I had my certified. I applied to a place and sat down, and the guy was like, ask this to all servers, but can you tell me the grapes of Bordeaux? And I said, red or white? And he's like, you're the only one who's ever said that to me. Everyone else, they just start trying to name them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then the other and then I was like that. It finally hit me that I know nothing. Of course, I didn't get the job, but he was kind of like he was very nice to me. He's wow, like I was so shocked when you said 8 because I consider myself maybe 3. So yeah, but after that I realized that I know really not that much, and I start listening Gary V actually, Gary Vaynerchuk. I don't know if you know him. I think he's
Wine
just
Library.
yeah, so
Yeah.
I was listening all of his stuff, and like, of course, you're exposed to more regions, to grape varietals, and all of that. Even if I didn't have the opportunity to take that course, I would eventually just learned it myself and just use their. Even back then, I passed my certified, uh, yeah, more than 10 years ago. So then, and back then it was already stuff available on YouTube, and now it's so much. You don't even need a course. Everything is available, and it's so many great materials. And you can, not only that, you can reach to people, a lot of people in MSs online, and they will respond to you. So I feel like you know, you can learn it.
And there are more tasting books written by MSs now than when I started. Like, are you familiar with Tim Gazer?
No.
Oh man, you should check out. So he runs a blog. He's actually a great writer, but he wrote a book on how he teaches people to taste and his theory about tasting.
Okay.
And yeah, it is legit. It's what I've given to my servers, told people to read when they're asking me how to learn to taste. But there are so many resources, and like I did my certified as 2014, so I'm the same boat.
I
10 years
think
ago.
I'm 14. I'm not sure, but that was the year I
Back
passed
there.
it.
Were you in Arizona? Did we do it together?
No,
Or
it
no?
was New York.
Yeah, I flew to Arizona. Oh no, we drove. I drove to Arizona to do it. They don't, or at least they hadn't offered a certified in Santa Fe for a while, and our whole study group just let's go.
It's
What was
fun.
the certified like for you? Curious.
When I was at the course, when I was preparing for exam, or after?
No, like the actual exam. Yeah.
The actual exam was actually, well, the most difficult part for me was actually the service, because you're in front of people, and I get my hands are shaking and all of that. So, but it's actually technically it's kind of the easiest. So if you think of it past the time. But yeah, I had an amazing group of people, and we were like, I heard on one of your podcasts you were saying that you guys were studying together and tasting and all of that. So that's kind of the same thing with me, and I still keep in touch with some of them. But the was difficult part for me was some of them were super experienced. They were coming from Michelin star restaurant experience, and I feel like they knew more than, well, they probably didn't, but it seems to me they were on the same level, because all of the teachers in the class were MSs. So you're not allowed. Yeah. So that was a really cool advantage of that course as well. So and that's the reason why I took it too, because Dustin from the Somm, I forgot his last name. I had total crush on him, and he was one of he only taught one lesson. So,
Total
but
focus. Yes.
Yeah, it's like I think I even remember what lesson it was. But anyways, so and yeah, it was a really fun time, and we would after classes because they would start at 9 and we would finish at 2. And we would go somewhere, not every day, but quite often, and like drink wines. And a lot of people were in industry, so you go to their places as a bunch of people, and they will provide, and you can have a tasting group. So, and at that time, Anya Myalyuk, she one of them female MSs, I think she's one of the first. She opened Cork bars in New York, where you can go, and she was very nice. In between this slow hour, she would have, you can get a blind tasting flight, and then there will always be people doing the same thing as you do. So there was, and I think like New York, of course, is the great place for that. There was a Lambrusco bar. I don't know if they still open, but you can go and have all sorts of Lambruscos to try. So odd, So yeah, it was absolutely.
We struggle to get Lambrusco here.
Yeah,
That's crazy. Yeah.
So no, it was absolutely awesome. Think it's a great way. It was actually a new learning experience for me because in Russia we don't learn in groups. And I think in America that's very common to do even in college, and for some reason I don't know why, but it was a new learning experience for me when you can just do your flashcards with your friends and while you're having a good time, but you can exchange the knowledge. Maybe somebody's more knowledgeable in one region and you are in another one, and so you can always help each other. But yeah, I felt like I was, even though I worked in restaurants, but they were kind of very simple restaurants. They were nothing fancy, so I didn't really have that good base knowledge when I attend that course, and I felt a lot of people knew so much more, but that just makes you study harder. So yeah, and it's a great times and highly recommend.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of snuck this in earlier, and I want to highlight it because that's related to your answer, that there was an almost 100% pass rate from this course that you were taking.
Yeah.
And you've heard from multiple people that when you have a study group, your chances of passing just exponentially increase. And I think, if I remember correctly, the pass rate for the certified is something an average is 60 or 65%, somewhere in that realm.
Sounds right.
And
yeah.
Our whole study group passed, everyone. And then we went as a group. We also took one of the study group's boyfriends that didn't study with us, and he failed. He was just trying to study on his own. And it shows you that, whether or not they do it in Russia, community is a powerful tool in the tool belt if you're trying to learn something like wine, a world as complex as wine.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's what they say. It's, if you're surrounded by a certain group of people, you're gonna become them. So it's kind of the same idea. So you can't really, if people around you studying, learning, and all of that, so you're gonna kind of, even though you maybe not on the same level with them, but you're gonna eventually catch up.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Now I think I have some questions about some things that are going to be of huge practicality to everyone listening. If I go to a restaurant, I don't know the restaurant, how do I order a bottle of wine? What do I think through? How do I do that successfully?
So there's a few approaches to that. It depends on what restaurant it is. So if you when you open the wine list, if there's even a wine book or just one list. So for me, few red flags would be, meaning that good luck with ordering wine. There's no vintages. And I see it sadly quite often because people just don't want to, even if it's one pager, they don't want to reprint it, or they don't know what vintage they're gonna. Anyways, at that point I'll be maybe order a cocktail or a beer. But anyways, let's take an average example of it's a decent restaurant. I would always ask for help from a server, or if they have a som, the person who probably built that wine list right in front of you. Of course, it's not always the case, but I would still try that as a first resort to have a successful bottle order. And you can feel by how person respond to you. If it's just they will say, "Oh, take this bottle, it's good." It's also
how much
red
they're
flag.
Sweating.
Yeah, exactly. So, but it's hard for me. I actually recently just did the thing about not using Vivino, but also sometimes you have to use it. But Vivino is very funny app. It's not an expert or wine drinkers who raise those wines. It's a person who maybe has absolutely different palate. So I don't know the answer to this question. It's a complicated one. So but what I would do, look at the wine list if it's available online, see if there is something that you can see on it that you can, you maybe tried before, you liked it, stuff like that. Do your homework, bring your own bottle. That's an option too. So people don't use it often enough. Find out, of course, always find out about the corkage fee and if it's even allowed and what's the restrictions are
before you pay $70 or something crazy.
Yeah. But I would, and for example, there in New York, it's kind of looked down if you bring a bottle of wine they will charge you, like, I think it's minimum $50 in New York in a decent establishment. And it's kind, you kind of know why they do it, because the majority of the money they make is from selling wine and liquor. But in California, it's pretty common. When I moved here, it's like $25, and a lot of places will welcome that, and you don't feel like you walked in with two heads, like you would feel in New York. So yeah, but I don't. It's so hard for me to what kind of knowledge that person has who's ordering a bottle of wine, and it's always. But also the other part of it, be adventurous. Like, it's okay to have a bad bottle. That's the whole, or have an amazing bottle. It could go either way, and sometimes you just never know, and that's the fun about wine, and that's just for me that's the most exciting thing.
Yeah, in this day and age too, a bad bottle is not going to kill you.
Like,
yeah, the actual dangerous bottles are few and far between. Yeah,
and it's actually it's not gonna be bad, it's just not gonna be to your liking. So that's in most occasions that's what's gonna happen. It's not gonna be cooked or corked. In many cases it's just gonna be something that's not your style, and now not to order that bottle again.
And the good thing is, if you get skilled enough at detecting those actual flaws, you can send it back. Like, those are things that wineries will take the bottle, like the distributors will return those bottles. Like, I'm thinking that question was kind of like asking you, what is the best way to live?
But also, I mean, like, if you add more context, if you travel in, for example, like even here in California, the whole state is wine country. It's not just Napa and Sonoma, but try local wines. Like, if you're going to Carmel, try something ask what are the local wines. So it's mind-blowing to me. We live near Santa Cruz Mountains. For me, it's the best representation of Californian wines. And you rarely see people, you see them on a list, but you rarely see people ordering, and it's just crazy to me. And of course that doesn't give restaurant incentive to put it on a list. So I always try to support local winemakers and order local wine. It just kind of makes sense that's what they do in Europe. You rarely see anything out of region. If you like try to find Piedmont in Tuscany. Like, on a bottles list you might have a small section, but it will be heavily regional wine on a list. So
yeah, this is something that craft beer did better in America than wine.
Oh yeah.
And price of entry is lower, and so the perceived risk is like, well, I'll try this Atlanta double IPA. Sure. Yeah. Yeah. The Corkage one is a good one too. The caveat with that one, my restaurant has it.
I was wondering to ask. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And how do you when people bring a bottle, like, do you encourage it, or you kind of like what are your feelings about it?
Yeah, so I've seen it through several iterations, and I'm happy to go through all of them. When I lived in Santa Fe, and then when I moved to Tulsa, Oklahoma, both states have a law. You legally can't bring in bottles of wine. So it was a nightmare trying to explain that to people, especially people from California or New York. They're like, what do you mean I can't bring in a bottle? It's like, this thing called Prohibition. Every state makes their own rules. In this state, it's illegal. I'm sorry. So in that case, heavily frowned upon. And here, I'm fully agnostic about it. I will say, I do think it's odd when someone brings in a bottle that we have on the list.
Yeah. Agree.
Unless they have the same bottle that's been aged. So, a lot of our list, and most lists in restaurants are pretty recent vintages. And so if you have something from your cellar that's the same bottle, say, but 10 years older, that makes sense. But if it is actually purchased like down the street, same bottle, same vintage, that seems a little weird.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I do want to. Yeah, I kind of want to add to the Corkage. Corkage is not to save them. It's not the way I approach it. It's not for you to save the money on drinking. It's rather to in case the maybe wine list is not that great, or you do have that special bottle that you want to drink, to have that option. So I would never the idea of bringing kind of maybe like save a little bit of money, but it shouldn't be the center idea of why you bring in the wine bottle to the restaurant. So I just wanted to put it on a record so people hear that. So yeah, it shouldn't be the main focus there.
One of the coolest ways I've ever seen it done, there's a little restaurant in Omaha called Buffet, and it's kind of like half restaurant, half wine store.
Mm-hmm.
So you can buy any bottle from their wine store, and the corkage is, it's like $10, but like you just bring it in from the wine store, and so their prices are really fantastic in there. And so you have a whole assortment of French foods, and you've got this huge wine option.
Yeah.
They have some stuff by the glass where there's no corkage, but like it's just a nominal fee for the people that aren't just getting it from there, but actually ordering it for the dinner table. It's done really well. It's led to some cool dinners.
Yeah, it's not. That's a really cool option. It's not allowed in New York. You cannot do that because you have to have
like
an off-premise, and separate entrances. So, and I'm not sure about California. I know that there is a place. It's a wine shop, but you can buy a bottle from them and like pay a little bit something extra to drink it there. But there is no. It's still a wine shop, So I think they will provide you with glasses but no food allowed. So I think it would be fun if that was allowed in many states. So it's a win really. So you're purchasing something from the establishment and you drink it at their restaurant. So one day
there's a bar in Santa Fe called Susan's, and my buddy Chris works there, and they have essentially anything that's for sale in the liquor store is also in the bar that's attached. They'll make you drink so you can try it. You can pretty much order any bottle of beer instead of a 6-pack just individually. And so like you come, you have a couple, see what you want, and then buy that bottle and leave. Like, and it's very low risk that way too, because you can try all these obscure things just to see if you'll even enjoy it.
Yeah. No, that's a definitely fun way to approach it.
Cool. Some tips for picking out a great bottle of wine for yourself. Maybe that's too broad. What do you like to drink? What are your criteria for a great bottle for yourself?
I mostly, it's kind of funny because my partner has a huge collection of Burgundy and Bordeaux, so but it's like I feel like people always think that somms and people in the wine industry or wine collectors drinks those, DRCs every day and first growth of Bordeaux, but it's actually not true. And a lot of them, they're very cool to try, but they're not something that I would enjoy as just a regular glass of wine. And also being in the industry, sometimes for me, I just want to have a simple glass of wine, so I don't have to see how it evolves with the time, and I don't have to get so much deep into it. I personally, my sort of drinking wine, I mostly drink whites. It's not because I like one more than another. It's just kind of like, I live in California, it's always warm here. It's just kind of naturally you craving more of that a little bit cooler wines, and then I prefer those higher acidity, something more fresh. Northern, if you take any countries, I like northern appellations usually. I do drink a lot of local stuff from Santa Cruz Mountains. They're great. I hate to compare them like wines from California to Burgundy, but it's kind of like people will understand it when I'm trying to explain it. So it's not that super juicy, jammy Napa Sonoma stuff. It has this little bit of backbone of acidity and still has enough fruit to be California, but just kind of like nice structure to it. So those are just my kind of everyday wine picks, and I don't necessarily I like some. You can buy now those good quality Burgundy for $20-$30. They may just Anne Grove is one of my favorite producers. She makes that probably under $100 bottles. So yeah, I don't really, even though I could drink some of the fancy wines every day, but I like to share them. I like to drink it with people who will appreciate it, or not actually. So not everybody appreciates it, but it's fun.
Yeah.
It's like fun project for me to see how people approach some of this stuff. Mom is visiting me. She's my guinea pig. She doesn't even know it. So I'll start I pour her some aged Kistler, and she's like, "You giving me this bad wine?" And I'm like, "Little did you
Add a
know."
couple of ice cubes, Mom. It'll be good.
Yeah,
Don't worry about
totally.
it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
No, I do it right in the normal distribution for people who drink a lot of wine. Because I'm the same way, and a lot of people I know are the same way. White, usually for me, low alcohol, high acid. I'm okay with a touch of residual sugar, not too much. Like I can go for like a more on the sec side of a Chenin Blanc, but anything more than that, like sweet Riesling or anything, no. But drier Rieslings, and that's my jam, because you can have those and still not be knocked out the next day, and it's good with food, and it's refreshing. There's a lot of different things like that.
Well, the problem with California and like that warmer climate wines, you really never know what's the percentage of alcohol, because I think somebody did the lab testing and it was like pretty higher than they would list on a label, like, because of the taxing.
They get 1.5% variance, so yeah.
And plus they probably lie even more, so
sure.
There's some taxation thing. Everything above 15% is taxed more, but nobody ever checks that. Something like that. I'm not sure if that's the correct information, but that's what I heard. And and then you drink in the same amount that you would drink, but then in the morning you feel like, okay, what was happening yesterday? Your Aura Ring score goes out of wazoo, so.
Yeah, it's either make it purple or something else, but who knows? On that note, my new obsession, I think it's Campari. Have you heard about the proof of Campari throughout the world?
No, no.
They do a similar thing where it's either Campari or Aperol, but I think it's Campari. Based on the country they are importing they change percentage, and so it's all the way up to Jamaica is 28. And there's some countries in Africa where it's only like 22.5. And it literally is straight because the alcohol is taxed at different places at different rates. There's nothing about it that's phenomenologically better, just tax.
Yeah, it's almost like the champagne used to be, like their sweetest one was sent to Russia in the Tsar's time, and the driest one was English people drink the driest one, so yeah.
The sweetest ones they sent to the Tsars, it was sweeter than Sauterne.
I did not know that was the extreme.
It was insane.
That was also very interesting. It's fun to look at why, obviously in the United States, I'm always curious about American palate, why people Camus, why they drink Miomi, and I came to my own conclusion based on like some knowledge that I have. That is just Prohibition didn't help, and people drinking liquor and soda, and that developed that juicy, jammy palate, and that sort of contributed to people choosing those wines more on a fuller bodies, sweeter, really, style. So, and Europeans never had that. So, and then of course they don't have, and also they're don't have that really warm regions that what we well, not everywhere, but generally speaking, so they more acid driven wines, which I also think a lot of European wines lack in the fruit, like give me a little bit
with
of it,
the opposite direction. Yeah,
so it's but for Russians I was like, oh, we're drinking vodka, we don't really drink any brown stuff, and it's we never really were exposed to soda until collapse of Soviet Union, so but it wasn't that widely available. So I've always wondered, why did that sweeter choice of drinks came from? So maybe it's historically also just people consume more sweet stuff because it gives more energy. So I don't know, I have something to analyze.
Well, I have a theory on that. Are you familiar with Tony Abou-Ganim?
No.
So
I'm gonna have to write all these names down.
Luckily, this was being recorded, so you can go back and check it out.
Yeah.
But so he's a big bartender. He ran, I think it was the Bellagio in Las Vegas for years. But he has this thing where he says Americans talk dry and drink sweet, and I think that there is this counterpoint where in France they talk sweet and drink dry. Like the obsession they have with pastries is out of this world, and so. My wife's parents, her mother is French and her father's Russian, and her mom actually met the dad in Russia. They lived there for a long time. She's the first one born here. They came over about 30 years ago. Back at what is it, like 1800s, and even before that, there's a lot of back and forth French and Russia. There's a lot of obsession, I think. And I think that they held on to that talk sweet, drink dry mentality. Where like there is this obsession with pastries. Like my wife and their family, they have it. I don't know if you and your family have it, but like every meal they want to end it with coffee and a little sweet something. Just a little something.
Or just without the meal, you just drink tea and you have always something sweet. You know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So
Yeah.
maybe it's different cultures, I guess.
Yeah. Well, we're onto something.
If someone's listening at home and they want to learn more about you, find out more about what you do, where could they go and find out what you do on the line?
So my primary social media is Instagram. That's where I post mostly. Well, I actually post on many of them, but I would just refer to Instagram, Wine with Anya. So there where I'm sharing my experience, my recommendations, and some fun stuff as well. So people don't take wine too seriously. Yeah, you can find me on Instagram.
Cool. So if you're listening to this and you are not a troll, because we don't like those from before, I will have all of that info, all of the links, but mostly the Instagram on the show notes just to make sure you can find Anya. If there was one thing just before we leave, is there anything we missed or didn't talk about that you feel like would be a shame we missed?
Well, I think it's just that would be a nice sums up thing to mention. Yeah, like people afraid of wine and people, and even when they see some of my content, they will feel like, or I'm judging somebody, or I'm a snob and stuff like that. So you have to understand it. We're not taking ourselves serious, and wine is. It's a complicated subject, but it's just wine. So I think we have to get rid of this stigma that I ain't judging any of people who are not familiar with wine. It's more for me like even some tips and standards for people who actually work in service. So, and I love to have a person who know nothing about wine and to introduce them to some things and explain everything, never with a judgment. And if you put in jalapeno in Sauvignon Blanc, I'm not gonna look down at you. I'm just gonna kind of like try to talk you out of it. Or
you see advertisements for pineapple jalapeno white wine, and so it goes.
Yeah, yeah. So.
Now, for better or for worse, wine is intimidating. There just is a lot about it.
But that's what attracts people. That was definitely what attracted me. And when people say that, oh, we should make wine approachable, wine has never been more approachable than it's now. So, and for me, I kind of like the idea of this little something mystical about wine and like, why is it so complicated? Why is it so expensive? Yeah, so we have to keep it like a balance.
Sure. Yeah, and I mean, you mentioned vodka earlier, and that's a great point and something great to look at. Like, vodka is pretty straightforward, and I mean, it also is probably the biggest spirit in the world, most widely consumed and known, but it's kind of boring, unless you get really into it. And even then, it is it's a spirit that's supposed to be odorless and colorless. Like,
yeah,
no one writes poems about vodka that I've known. But people write wine.
Yeah. And then it's not like you go into a place where they grow in whenever they're making out vodka out of, right? But the potatoes or rye or whatever it is, and you like sit in there and say, what a beautiful terroir.
Here's the winter wheat. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's true. Anya, thanks for coming on, and thank you for your journey in trying to spread the gospel of wine.
Thank you for
really
having me.
it.
Yeah, it was fun chatting with you.